even there's so many good intentioned people that are wanting to come into the United States to make a better life for them and their families. However, it's oftentimes, again, this is just interviews you can go see from many of different sources, given all of them that I've seen have come from YouTube. So, YouTube could be, censoring and like curating the content that I have even available to watch and take in. But you can go from like Robert Kennedy Jr. has gone down to the border, like leading up to the last presidential election. More kind of like, I would say, self-proclaimed liberal, sort of guy, has a popular independent news channel called Channel 5, Andrew Callahan. He's gone down to the border, and they would just interview people, like just trying to give an honest perspective of why people are coming illegally across the border, if and why they're, seeking asylum. Because asylum, again, is like, I literally have to leave my country because if I were to go back, it's death, right? That's what asylum is. Not, hey, there's more opportunity here, so I can seek asylum. And that's essentially what it became over the last, few years. And it was also easier for them to get in the United States and stay within the United States because an executive order that Joe Biden or his auto pen passed was to adjudicate the asylum seekers within the United States instead of previously how it was done. They had to stay within Mexico or, some other country while they're waiting for their day in court. And, that could be 7 years that like if they're granted entry into the United States, they have 7 years to, escape, into God knows where, between now and their court date. And that's without the fact being brought in like federal organizations like FEMA were misappropriating a lot of their funds to put a lot of these asylum seekers in hotels and, even in just processing camps, to get them to, whatever city that they may have a relative or family or friend in, hey, we're going to buy you a plane ticket to Miami or New York or whatever. And then, potentially even give you a place to stay, pretty much permanently for, the next better part of a decade, right? So that's all to say there's a lot of people coming in, but even those best intentioned people, as I saw, like all the interviews, I never saw like, I am like coming here, I'm going to stake my, claim in the ground, stick my, flag in the ground, whatever, so to speak, and I'm going to become an American, build an American family, and give back to the future generations of America. Never heard that once in all of those interviews I watched of asylum seekers or illegal immigrants coming across.
What was the most common thing you heard?
The most common, at least that was with good intentions, was we're coming over to America. I'm either sending money back to my family back in my home country, or we're moving here to America as a family, saving up enough to then go back to our home country. And that's no. They're like,
that's right.
You could have good intentions in doing so, but you're not coming here to rob the wealth of America and Americans to bring it back to some other country. If you want to make that country prosperous, revolt in your own country, or if you have the ability, run for office in your home country and bring these American ideals back to your home country, right?
And running for office in some of these countries
not possible.
Is not. It's if
right.
you own your own militia or something, maybe you could have influence, or
right.
if you have a ton of money already, and I don't know, it's so complex, and so it's again. Can't be more fortunate that we live here and that we were born here and we're citizens here.
On the other hand, though,
I have immense respect for the immigrant that came here legally.
Yeah.
And one of the things that all this chaos that we're experiencing right now, all this division in this country over illegal immigration / illegal immigration, one of the things that's going to come out of it is there's going to be more and more respect for the legal immigrant who came here.
Yeah.
People who came here legally, went through the process, they're going to be respected and revered, I think, even more so as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, though, like some examples of like where exceptions are made for people to legally immigrate, it's again, no system's perfect, but you even look at Melania Trump, how she was able to legally immigrate into the United States was through like the special Einstein Visa, right? That you're like some world class, sort of professional. And it's like, was Melania really, a world class, like model at the time prior to meeting Trump?
I don't know. I don't know
Right.
much about her past.
But what I'm getting at is like, so she has made sure that Barron Trump has received Slovenian citizenship as well.
Citizenship.
Yeah. And, I've heard like Tucker Carlson make the argument, there shouldn't be dual citizenships. Like China doesn't allow dual citizenships. If you move away from China, you're giving up your citizenship to China. And that's if they allow you to, move out, to begin with. And I think that's the same case with Russia. And I don't know if we should go quite that far, but there is something to be said, especially like Israel, right? All of them are forced to, pledge allegiance to the Israeli government, serving in the IDF, How can you pledge allegiance?
Mandatory, isn't it?
Yeah. So
mandatory service.
Then how can you, pledge allegiance to Israel and the IDF if you then come to the United States and now all of a sudden you have to pledge allegiance to the United States above all else, right? There is a dichotomy there that, are at heads, right, with one another. But yeah, like Brian and I have talked about this as much as, yes, we are fortunate to be born as Americans. We also don't have any other option. If this place goes to shit, as a lot of people seemingly want it to, and like are kind of pushing for America to become more like other places around the world, where do we have to go? We don't have like, oh yeah, we can just go to Slovenia or one of these other communist European countries. Not that we would want to, right? But it's Korea. Like, yeah, like if we don't keep America and pushing for America to become more and more in alignment with what our founding fathers had in mind, even though again what they had in mind was not perfect by any stretch of the